Okay, after hours tonight, my day is done. The computers over there, we're done with those for now. We're gonna check out anybody that's ever had thought about flying drones. You know, these little toys like this that you may have seen at the dollar store, hardware stores, anything like that. Little, you know, maybe some gift shops, novelty shops. They sell them at Walmart. They're starting to sell them all over the place. And when you're talking about these small ones, that's not really a problem because they usually come with their own included charge system. Now, that aside, their controllers usually look like this or something smaller. You know, your hands are kind of cramped together. They'll take either double or triple A batteries. Now, when you move on to, sorry, I gotta move some stuff here. When you move on to some different things, let's say you want to build your own. Or, yet again, you go and buy a plane, build your own drone, and you want to you want to fly that. Or, you know, say you want to build something, you know, something that goes a little faster than this. This will fly, you know, 35, maybe 40, 45 mile an hour, and you want to get something that does like closer to 80 or 100 miles per hour. That's fine, that's great, and you're going to need, obviously you're going to need a little bit better control than the little one where your hands are cramped together. And even most controls, big ones like this, depending on the brand, if you're going to go with Spectrum, and I don't have my Spectrum radio in here, this is a very popular one, although it is not the newest version of a really popular controller. This is the Tyrannus, the FreeSky Tyrannus X9D, and it has a battery here in the back. This is a nickel metal hydride battery. Now, you could pull that out and charge it on its own. Oop, sorry, I'm flipping switches. But, like, as I was saying, most controllers will come, if they will either come with a wall wart, you know, a plug, where you can take and plug into the actual controller and plug into the wall and charge the nickel metal hydride battery in it. And some controllers, especially this one, you can upgrade it to a LiPo battery, a lithium polymer, or maybe even a life battery. I don't know about the lithium phosphate, but I know you can do a LiPo lithium polymer battery upgrade for most controllers. However, when you start getting into these bigger or not so bigger drones like this, and then also the same one I showed earlier, like this, you're going to run into charging the batteries. And when I got into this hobby, that's something I did give thought to. Oh, I'm gonna have to get a battery charger, and that's great. Let's flip over to the battery charger for a second. We're gonna look here. Okay, great. You may get your charger if you order something like this. You've got your power cord in the box, and then you also have, you're going to get all these dongles that come out. That doesn't really do anything, and they may or may not make sense. You know, if you're just new to the hobby like I was at one point, and I'm sure anybody that gets into it wants to build their own, if you buy a kit, which this is a kit, this is something that I ordered from the website rcexplorer.se, everything except the battery. I ordered a few batteries off of hobbyking.com, and then I picked this battery up while we still had an RC hobby store in State College, which was Hobbytown, USA maybe, I think. I can't remember the name of it, but that's where I picked up this particular battery. You got your charger, you have your, all these wires, your dongles with banana plugs. We are zoomed in there, and it's pretty obvious where you plug them in. And then you have your different ends for your different types of batteries that you're going to charge. Well, let's go ahead and plug this in. And there's a few things that you may not know, and I'm going to try and make that easier for charging batteries if you have to charge your own. And usually you're going to run up against lithium polymer batteries. A lot of cars still use nickel metal hydride, but then you can upgrade them to the LiPo lithium polymers. Your charger may have a readout something like this. Now, all the text is worn off, but basically we can select between LiPo, nickel metal hydride, nickel cadmium, PB, which is a normal battery as far as I know, like a lead battery. And then you got all your data. You can set your parameters, LiPo, voltage type, LiPo, LiLo, life, check time, the sensitivity, a lot of things. Discharge, USB temp, which we're not doing any USB charging here. Capacity cutoff. Capacity cutoff in your charger, if you have that, is, and I don't know about all chargers, I can speak to this one and a few similar to it. Capacity cutoff is one thing you're going to want to pay attention to. Another thing is whenever you get to your actual type of battery that you want to charge. I'm going to try and show you this. So let's hit stop. We're going to go back to user data or user set program, and then we would hit start. Go in. The voltage type of a LiPo battery is going to be 3.7 volts. Now, when you move, each time you move up, that would be a 1-cell battery. If you're talking 2-cell, it's going to be 7.4 volts, and basically it's just the 3.7 doubled. 3-cell is 11.1, 4-cell is what, 14.8, I think. 5-cell is like 18.5, a little over 18 volts, I believe, and I've never been on anything above 5-cell. So there's that. You have all the options within there. We don't need any of those. Let's hit stop, go in, and find that cutoff time. Now, the cutoff time is important. That is how much you want to charge that battery. And this is different depending on what types of batteries you're going to charge. So let me find a few here. And now this is where it's a simple formula, but if you don't know it or can't find a video on YouTube or some resource online, well, you're not really going to know how to charge the batteries. Now, the idea is to charge lithium polymer batteries, and this is to the best of my knowledge. I could be wrong about this, but you want to break it down to what is the milliamp hours of your batteries. We have 1,000 here, and this is a 2-cell 7.4 volt battery. We have another 1,000 2-cell, which is 7.4 amps, and then we have a 1,300 milliamp hour battery, which is a 3-cell at 11.1 volts. I have some bigger ones here, but if you run into a bigger battery, here, I think that was what, a 3-cell. Let's unstrap this battery and take a look at it. I believe it is a 4-cell battery. Okay, so we have another 1,300 milliamp. Two very different batteries. This one is what I use to fly. Let's see if we can show it to you. That orange thing over there on the wall, that is a flying wing. The motor is in the back. I guess I could, let me bring that out. Is it easy to get down? That's the thing. Fairly easy. Okay. So these fly a little bit different. Wow, I don't know. Can we even show you that without it blurring? Okay, so this is what runs specifically these batteries, the 1,300 milliamp long wide ones. And why that is, the cutout in the bottom is the size and shape, depth for this battery to sit in there and be velcroed in. Yes, I am registered with the FAA. That's when you have these models, when that was still a thing, you had to have your FAA number on these in case it would, you know, something would break, happen in the air, and it would come down out of the sky and hit a car, a house, do damage, hurt somebody. They want to know who you are. Okay, so back to this. A little different. You get most of your weight from your camera setup, your antenna, receiver, and your battery in the front, and then all the weight is from about here back. You have your motor in the back. A little different than something such as a plane. Still though, we're not focusing on flight and shape. Just wanted to throw that out there real quick. Bring that on camera, because when people see it, they're like, is that a drone? I guess, yeah, it could be. No, actually it's a flying wing. So, let's get back to the batteries. 1300 milliamps, 1000. These are 2-cell, this is a 3-cell, and then we have our 4-cell battery. Now, if getting into flying anything RC, there's you can get a Spectrum radio. I recommend them. They're good. They're good for doing, you know, little park flying and stuff, and some people have gotten fairly decent range out of them. The two that I've preferred out of all the radios I've used are the one I showed you, the FrSky Taranis X9D, and then they have a newer version of that, the X9D Plus Taranis. FrSky makes a few other Taranis brand radios. There are imitators of them, and then also the high-tech Aurora 9 or Aurora 9X is the newer version. Very nice RC transmitters, however, very expensive. The high-tech one is about, I think, $500, $450. The FrSky comes in a lot lower at $199. So, on top of, you want to fly these, you want to get into the hobby, you do need to buy the radio, and that's usually going to be, you know, $100 or so, or more if you're getting a more quality one. You can get some, I think, for $70, $80, and they even have super cheap ones on Hobby Kings. Another thing to invest in would be a capacity, a digital battery capacity checker. It lets you check your batteries. Now, there's a little bit to plugging these in, and I can show you that. On pretty much most of your batteries, whether they, I don't know about nickel metal hydride or nickel cadmium. I don't really use them other than the one in my controller, and that is it. For the most part, I use LiPo. They come with a balance lead on them, and I kind of disabled this battery here to use this end for something else. That is the end that was on it. I need to put a new end back on it, but for now I have it covered in shrink wrap as to not let the leads touch and short each other out. You will have this other thing, a little white plug on there. That is a balance lead. That is a good way to check your voltage. That's also a good way to run any onboard things as far as cameras, your FPV transmitter. You can get power, you know, you can power a number of things, pan and tilt systems. If you happen to have a set of goggles for flying FPV, some of them have a head tracking unit built in. I think these do, but I have never set that up. And basically what that is if you have your camera set up on a pan and tilt system, while as you move your head in real life, you know, as you would move your head, the camera on the pan and tilt system would move also. I've never set that up. I just don't have the pan and tilt system, so. Balance lead, back at that. Alright, balance lead is how you would plug in to your tester. And it's labeled here for what cell you're going to check. You get your voltage, and then you have your negative, and then you have your power wire. And basically, you start at the top with the lead facing up with the metal tabs facing down. You can just set it on there and check it, or you can actually plug into these pins right there. So let's go ahead. You can plug it in as such so the battery hangs, or you can just simply test it by touching the pins. I don't prefer the test method. I like to actually plug it in. That way my display is not blinking on and off. Now, the formula for charging these, to the best of my understanding, and it took me a long time to find this info, and I want to try and break this down and make it simple. Okay, this is a 2-cell battery. Now first thing, it's 1,000 milliamps. So, let's go to our charger. If you can kind of see that display, I hope. We are going to go to...
I didn't catch that.
Whoa, I got a computer talking to me. Huh? Cortana, you didn't catch that. Good to know. Let's restart. I don't know. Oh, it was this other one. Okay, let's shut you up. Thank you. Alright, back to our charger. We have this one currently set to 1500 milliamps. That's not what we want to charge. So we're going to hit start. Start turns the capacity cutoff. The first time you hit it, you get your on flashing. Now you could hit your plus or minus here to change that back to off, but we do want the capacity cutoff to on. Hit it again, it takes it over to the milliamps, and then we want to hit our minus key to take it down. You can tap it or you can hold it in. If you hold it in, you usually pass your mark. And there we're at 1,100 milliamps. So we know that when this charger is charging a battery, it is going to cut off when it gets to the 1,000 milliamps that the battery is rated for. So now let's hit our back button. Now we want to hit our minus to cycle through our options of our menu. We are at battery, so let's go to LiPo. Now, the formula for charging these. We know this is a 2-cell battery. So we're not going to want to charge it at the 3.7 volts listed. So one tap will give us the amps. Another tap will give us adjustment on the cells of the battery. And you will hear people refer to these as 2-cell, 1-cell, 2-cell, 3-cell, 4-cell, 5-cell, on up to whatever cell the batteries stop at. Or you may hear them called a 1S, 2S, 3S, 4S, S as in shark, you know, Stephen, S. So we know this one is 3.7 volt, 1S is what is listed. This is a 2S, so it is 7.4 volt. We will bump it up to 2S, hit our start button again, and that stops the adjustment from flashing. We're now currently set to 7.4 volts. Now, we still have the amperage to deal with. Basically, you take whatever your milliamp hours, 1,000 milliamps, we're going to want to charge it at 1.0 amp. Oop, 1.0. So let's take this down to 1.0, hit our start button again. Neither are flashing. That one is good. Now another option other than charging the battery is you could balance the battery, and what that does is checks all the current cells in the battery and it balances out, basically fills all the cells in the battery, whether it be a 2, 3, 4-cell battery, it fills them up evenly. I don't know the recommended how often you should charge the battery, balance charge it, but I usually do it every 4 to 5 times. I've heard some people state that they balance charge it every time. Is that good or bad? I don't know. So on LiPo balance charge, now remember we set it back on charge, 1.0 amp, 7.4 volts, and that's a 2-cell or 2S battery. Let's go to LiPo balance. This one is not set. That's on the last time I charged the battery, and the 2.1 amps, 11.1 volts tells me I was charging a 2100 milliamp battery that was a 3-cell. So let's do our adjustment. We'll hit our start button to get the amps flashing. We want to go down to 1.0. Start takes us over to the cell count of the battery. We will hit the minus button once. Takes us to 7.4, 2-cell. Hit start, and you're good. Now that we are balance charging, that means basically we would have to plug in our banana plug connectors, the negative and the positive. Okay, and then we would also, we're going to plug that in there, and then we would also take and plug our balance lead into the appropriate white socket on the side here. This is a 2-cell, so you have 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 cell. We're going to plug into the 2 cell. And to start charging on this charger, and most others like it, after you have the correct parameters or correct settings set to charge your battery, it doesn't hurt to double check. And just to be super safe, so we don't explode this while charging it, we're going to hit our stop button. We're going to back out. We're going to go to our user set program and check once again. Okay, user set program, hit start, hit our positive button to cycle through and look for our cutoff voltage, being that we're balance charging. Another thing I like to set is the safety timer. Usually it will, when balance charging, you will get the battery charged in an hour. So I usually have it set to 60 minutes or so. I could put 70 just to be sure that this is going to charge. Now what will happen is when it reaches 1000 milliamp hours or milliamps that it's rated for, it's going to stop charging. Or if 70 minutes comes first, it's going to cut it off there. I always keep it set to 60, and I've gotten 97, 98, 99, 96% charges on pretty much all of my batteries. So we have the 60-minute timer. Cycle through again, capacity cutoff, 1000 milliamps. 1000 milliamp battery, we're good to go. Let's go back to program select LiPo battery, hit start, hit our positive once we're in the LiPo menu to go from LiPo charge over to LiPo balance, and this is where we would hold in start, battery check wait, 2 cell, start. Okay, so have cancel stop, which is over here, or confirm start. We're going to confirm it. We're going to hit enter or start. It's going to start charging, reading through the balance plug the level of voltage in the cells, and charge accordingly out of our charging plugs here, and continuously reading the battery. Now whatever comes first, the 1000 milliamps or the 60 minutes, that is, it's going to cut it off. We have the safety timer set, we have the voltage cutoff set. Now let's stop this before it charges too much. There is another option when doing this, and I've never done this without the balance plug. Will it work? I don't know. I always do it with the balance plug, so it is getting a fairly accurate reading of the voltage level in the battery and all the cells. Whatever, it's getting, you know, it's late summer going into fall, the sun's going down, you don't have much time after work or at the end of your day, you don't have much time, you want to get whatever back up there in the sky, flying some FPV, flying your plane, who knows what you want to do. You just want to get back up there in the air, and you don't have a whole hour to wait. The sun's going to be going down. Okay, so let's take a look at our charger here. This is another option that's in here. So we'll go back out. We are in where we select what we want to charge or set our cutoff and cutoff voltage, our safety timer. Go back into LiPo battery. The up or plus button takes us to from LiPo charge to LiPo balance to LiPo fast charge. Now, basically, to the best of my understanding, the way to do this would be same thing. We're doing a 2 cell battery that is 1000 milliamps, and how we would charge that is 1.0 amp times 7.4 volts, charge it over an hour. That is usually when I charge these batteries, do it in an hour. That's why I had the 60-minute timer set. But this one, so we're going to try and do it double as fast. I've never went higher than, like, if you're taking 1 and you double it to 2, I've never went 2 up to and doubled it to 4 amps and tried to charge this in 15 minutes. Allegedly, supposedly, that is how it works, but I don't know. Don't hold me to that. The safest way I've done it and not had a battery blow up or catch on fire was taking the 1.0 amps for a 1000, or let's say it is our 1300 milliamp 4 cell battery. Okay, well, let's get our correct plugs for that, which would be our XT60 lead here. We're going to plug in. We know it is a 4-cell battery. We'll go ahead and plug the battery in. 2, 3, 4 cell, plug in there. So we got our battery there. We're going to fast charge it. Now we know it is 1300 milliamps, so that would be 1.3 amps if we set that. 1.3 amps would be the normal rate, and it is a 4-cell, so we'll go from 2 to 3, 3 to 4, which will be 14.8 volts, and then hit our start, and that locks in our settings. We're ready to hold start and start charging it. But being that we're fast charging, we're going to take our standard settings here of 1.3 amps times 14.8 volts, and we're going to double the 1.3. We don't want to double the voltage, just the amps. Doubling the 1.3 will take us up to 2.6. Now, instead of taking an hour to charge, this should take about a half hour or a little less, being that you never want to delete these or deplete these batteries less than, I like to do 80-20. The 80-20 rule to me is what I call it. I use about 80% of its capacity and leave about 20% left in there. I have went for, you know, another minute longer flight when flying that orange thing I showed you, the flying wing, doing FPV, trying to do a range test, or not range, but trying to fly farther out. And I've taken some of my batteries down to 14%. And I can tell you the cheaper batteries that I took down that low did not last as long as the other ones that I took down to about 20%. The ones that when flying, using 80% of the capacity of the battery, 80% of the voltage, leaving 20% of it in there, I still have them. They haven't swelled up, they haven't died on me, cells haven't went out, taking a 3-cell battery down to a 2-cell, or a 4 down to a 3. So, fast charging, your battery in half the time. Could you do it in a quarter of the time? I suppose. I've never heard anybody say it. I've often wondered it. But hey. So that is the super duper crash course. Check online. There's lots of resources about how to charge LiPo batteries. People are going to talk real technical terms and maybe confuse you. If you have any questions and it wasn't clear, I'd be glad to help. The biggest voltage I have ever messed with, as far as lithium polymer or LiPo batteries is concerned, was a 5-cell 2200. So that was what, roughly, what's 14.8 times 2? I can't do that math in my head. Not at the end of the day. It doesn't work. It just don't work, people. Alright, 14.8 times, why do I want to times 2? 29. No, not 14.8. 3.7 times 5 is what I wanted. 3.7 times 5 is 18.5. So a 5-cell is indeed 18.5 volts. If you do get into the hobby and you're not buying these little toys from, like I said, dollar stores, Walmart, or novelty, you know, little gift shops, novelty shops on the counters. You know, I've seen them in even some grocery stores had, you know, drones this big, even stuff around this size that was very cheaply built out of plastic. You know, this is all carbon fiber and G10 fiberglass, I think. I'm not sure what kind of fiberglass, but it is fiberglass or carbon fiber. Carbon fiber arms, fiberglass sides. This is when the guy at rcexplorer.se first released it. There was 100 limited edition ones. I got 46 out of 100, so I've had this for quite a while. All original. Haven't broke any of the pieces. I want to keep it that way. Very nice flying tricopter. If you get into this, know that it is an expensive hobby if you move beyond the toy level. So you're going to need a fairly decent, and I made a mess out of this. This should have been my train wreck after hours. You're going to need a fairly decent controller. I'm not sure. I think, let me check. You know, I think I can show you the quality difference if I just take a quick look over here. Ah, yes, I think it is here. So, yes, right here. Let's look at the quality difference from, I believe this is $199 for the current generation of the FrSky Taranis X9D, which is the X9D Plus. X9D Plus. It's a case for the X9D Plus. Mine is only an X9D. I haven't upgraded. There's not much difference. I like mine. Mine works. $199 RC transmitter. Basically, the transmitter interprets your controls to the receiver on board your model, which the receiver would be the little box with the antennas coming off of it. So from the Taranis, $199, not with the case, nothing except the radio and the battery in it, and a little module that sits back in here, which is just a blank cover plate. What this does, real quick, this is something I built. I don't know that they sell these. I took a transmitter out of a competing brand in the market, Spectrum, put the transmitter into this custom case, got the components, soldered it up, and this plugs directly in, and instead of using the internal transmitter, I can use the one in this module. It just plugs right into the back of the radio. Now all my planes or models with Spectrum branded receivers in them, I can fly it with this radio, which means I don't have to carry three. I was carrying 3 radios: my Spectrum radio, the Taranis radio, and the one we're about to look at, the high-tech Aurora 9. The 9X is the newer version. It does have some updated stuff in it. However, this let me quit carrying my Spectrum radio to the flying field. So $199 for this radio, all the way up to, I think, $450 for, and $434 I think is what I paid. I found a slight sale on it, and it was around $500 at that time. So there is a bit of a difference in quality. You go from, let me see if I can show you this. You go, you still have your gimbals in there. You have your switches all over it. This is, I believe, a 16 channel, the same as this, or 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 channel? 9 channel. This is 9 channel, so I counted wrong. 9 channel, and this is either a 9 channel. I'm not sure. I can't remember it. It doesn't say. There's no cheat sheet on it for me. So sorry, people. You go from, you have your switches, you have your pots here, and this does have some stuff that the high-tech Aurora 9 does not. They each have these ones on the side that have a stop in the middle. They each have, the bind switch, which would be here also. Then you have a 2-position switch, a 2-position switch here, 3, 3. This one is a 3. This is a 3. These ones are only 2, so basically on and off, or position A, position B. And then you move over to a 3 position here, and a 2. This one has a 3 and a 3. Another thing, aside the quality of the radios, the gimbals in this, I like the feel of them better. I like the feel of this radio better in my hands, but hey, it's all personal preference. You go from a non-touch screen with buttons to an actual touch screen. It's not in color or anything. There are other brands of radios that have come out that have real nice color touch screens, almost like smartphones from about 5-6 years ago. There may be even newer stuff out since then. I don't know. These are the radios I bought. This is what I've stuck with. And this is the first radio that I learned to program. After I figured out how to program this one became my favorite. When sitting down trying to program models into each of these, once I learned on this one, I kind of forgot on this one, and it took me a minute when setting up a new model. Yeah, but there is a quality difference. This one, you really don't have as many custom modules that will go in the back like you can with this. You could fly pretty much not all brands, but quite a few brands by either buying or making a module for the back of this. Another thing that's great about the FreeSky Taranis X9D, X9D Plus, it's got this old style USB port that goes to a regular USB cord on the other end. And guess what? That, if you are real nervous about wrecking these, first time flying a drone or a quadcopter, tricopter, don't start with building your own custom bicopter where it's just two propellers. That's not going to work. And I wouldn't start with a helicopter. If you must start with either of those models, I recommend doing it in a sim. And if you buy a good controller, there are some sims, flight sims, that you can get on Steam and as downloadable on their own apps. This works great. You can set up the high-tech radio with a computer. You need special stuff though. You just need an old style USB cable. Yeah, this works great for that. So not only, once you're learning to fly whatever, planes, a fixed wing plane, a flying wing, or a tricopter, quadcopter in a sim, and you move to a model in real life, you're going to be already familiar and comfortable holding the same transmitter, you know. So that's another reason I really would recommend the FreeSky radio if you're getting into this. Charging the batteries, the crash course on that, like I said, usually try to charge them an hour or a half hour if you're fast charging. That is the most I've ever done. I've never tried to go down to a quarter hour, but if we take our 1.3, and let's do the math with an actual calculator, we take our 1.3 amps times 3 would be 3.9, so I suppose we could do it 3 times as fast. I don't know if I'd want to pump that much juice into a little battery like that and risk blowing it up, but hey. So there's some things to think about if getting into the hobby. Another thing is, if you're going to just go out and fly and look at something flying, you know, you're flying it, and now granted, I know this isn't quite far away, but it's going to be out away from you, and you're just flying a line of sight, looking at it flying in front of you, around you. That's one thing. When you make a step up to where you may be using goggles, and what these are is a set of goggles with 2 little screens in it, kind of like a set of VR goggles, but these goggles have an antenna and they have a receiver that links to a transmitter on your model that gives you a view of the camera on the model. No, they're not good for spying on people. When you get up there in the air, you're looking at people that are the size of ants, houses that are not much bigger than people the size of ants, unless you're flying right close to the ground, which in that case, these things sound like a lawnmower that is flying through the air. They're not quiet. You will know they're there. They're not great for spying. Much, much too loud for that. But yes, controlling under FPV goggles compared to controlling something line of sight, 2 different things. I recommend doing a line of sight first. Get a little toy, get a little model, and then maybe build your own. If you've got the cheddar to go out and buy a DJI Mavic, Mavic Air, Mavic Pro, Spark, I forget all the Phantom, any of those, and God forbid, if you got the money to go buy a DJI Inspire, what are you doing watching this? Don't watch this. Go fly that thing. I wish I had one. This is a DJI flight controller. It's got the GPS on it. FreeSky brand receiver to go with my radio. Just random electronics. I don't have the original DJI electronics. They were done for a while ago. But yeah, quite a few things to think about. I recommend learning in a sim first, for obvious reasons. Let's back out of all of our menus, unplug the battery, clean up this mess, and go home. So learn in a sim. If you want to get into flying quadcopters, some recommendations. I'll go ahead and pull those up real quick for anybody that is watching this rambling circus. Let's go over to the screen. Oh, we're on my Facebook. So, Liftoff is a good one. Liftoff game. You can get this on Steam. Hopefully it doesn't load any audio. Let's see. Liftoffgame.com, not secure. Okay, basically you get to fly models and fly them FPV. You will need some knowledge if using your upgraded transmitter instead of like a transmitter that comes with a flight sim. Another one that I can highly recommend would be this. This is the way I learned to fly. Liftoff wasn't a thing when I learned to fly stuff. What I learned with, and you can see there is a price on there, that cost some money. $1.20, oh wait, $129. Phoenix RC5, there is I think a newer version of it out now. Another good one is Real Flight. If you can find it online, I would say the Hobby Shop in State College, but they've done away with that now and closed. That's where I got this. If you find it online or in a hobby shop, they do, I've never seen this one, I think it's Real Flight that comes bundled with, and I don't know the name of the transmitter, but they come bundled with them. Maybe I've seen this one with Spectrum transmitters, and I do actually have a Spectrum radio here that I forgot about, that we'll go ahead and show you. And what this is the dongle from this flight simulator. Basically, it is USB, and it goes over to 3.5 millimeter plug. That plugs into the back of your radio. Don't leave it plugged in if you do buy the Phoenix RC flight sim, as it turns your radio on. Even if your power switch is off, it still turns your radio on. There is some setup involved with your controller, getting it to work with your computer. But that's the way I recommend flying. Out of the two of these systems, just being able to take this dongle that comes with Phoenix RC or the dongle that would come with Real Flight, plug into your radio. And not all radios have that. I guess this one has it too. But being able to plug this dongle in and set it up was fairly easy for my first time doing it. Once I did try to learn to fly in the Liftoff game, using just the USB port, and the configuration was just about as easy as this. So if you don't want to spend money and keep breaking your stuff right away, learn in a sim, buy one of these little models that are not very expensive and learn to fly that. This is actually the radio that I ripped the transmitter out of it to make my Spectrum module to let me fly anything that has a Spectrum brand receiver with this transmitter. So there's great how-tos online to do that. I did have some PCB boards that I ordered, however I gave them to somebody at the hobby shop in case anybody else wanted to build one of these, and then the hobby shop closed, so I don't have those. Another thing people may not know, if you do have one of these DX5E, I got this with one of my models. Why I ripped the transmitter module out of it to put in the one to use in the FreeSky is because it's a 6-channel receiver that you just have no way to interface with that 6th channel. And when you rip the module out of this, this is still a fully functioning controller with gimbals and a few switches to use with your flight simulator. So that's all that we actually do with it. I don't know if I have it installed, but I'm sure I do. Let's fire it up, people. Let's fire it up and show you people how bad I can fly in a sim. It's been a while. I'm not great, but you know what? This is After Hours. We're going to have fun for a few minutes. Now, granted, I hope this doesn't blow your ears out. You will have to give me a moment to turn the volume down, hopefully. I'm not going to be able to hear it, but you will. I'm sorry about that. Let me go over here. Now, as long as I talk, it should limit the volume. Let me go to, is it program setup, system, Your controls, your keys, program setup. Let's turn the volume down. Audio. Okay, we're going to turn that way down for right now. We'll go about 37%. Sounds good. Make sounds during voice chat. Sure. Apply. Accept. Okay, model change. What should we fly? I like that plane. Sukhois are nice. Here is a flight sim. Let's get it up on screen for you people. Volume down. Alright, we're flying a Sukhoi. Okay, so throttle's up. Hopefully this works. And this is what I recommend, learning to fly line of sight, so you're not looking at the plane with a camera point of view on board the model. Learn to fly with it while looking at it, like you would crash. See, did you see that? Did you see that crash down? The good thing is, no money. I get my plane back. I don't have to get the glue out and sit at home and repair this thing. I can just literally take off again. So let's take it out a little ways from us. I'm going to start turning. I'm going to get a little crazy with it. Level it back out, bring it at us. You can't hit yourself in this game, or I guess the plane crashes if you do hit yourself. It takes a little bit to catch up. The camera is what I was referring to. So, yeah, I highly recommend learning in a flight sim. I showed this to Dave, and he loves it. A lot of people actually got into playing it. I'm not a great pilot, but I know how to have fun doing it. And I like the little smoke trail that comes out of this plane. I think we went right through the trees, so I don't think the 3D aspect of this, let's see if we can land this thing, and we'll, excuse me, we'll fly another model quick, and then I will not keep anybody captive for any longer. Okay. I doubt we're going to land it first try. But hey, we're going to bring it in and try like crazy. Ooh! Did he get lucky? Yes! And his plane didn't wreck, but it's going to wreck as soon as it goes over there. Ah! Okay. Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. I cannot believe we landed that. I can guarantee you that almost never happens. Okay, so let's go to, where are we at here? Let's go to model. Change. What do we want to fly? What do we want to fly? Electric. Okay, let's see how quick we can crash the flying wing. That, we're going to fly. This is similar to that orange thing I showed you. Now this, basically, ooh, something is backwards. When you pull back, it should go up, and when you push it, oh, that's your launch. Okay. Okay, so it will take off. Alright, I feel better about that now. Boy, that launched about straight up. This is a little bit faster than, and I just cut the throttle. This is a little faster than, I have a little throttle going. This is a little faster than that last plane, the Sukhoi that I was flying. I was flying around kind of lazy. Not really a slow plane, but not, and I'm like at 50% throttle right now, roughly. Yeah, we just folded the wing up. Okay, we about scraped the ground on that launch. So yeah, highly, again, I repeat myself a lot, I know. Highly recommended. Maybe you don't have the money to get the flight sim. Well, get a hold of me. You can borrow it, I guess. I don't have one to borrow to the whole world, so if there's a high demand, people are going to have to take turns. I'd be happy to show you how to fly. I'm not a pro, but hey, to relax. It's kind of like therapy. I haven't been out flying at, well, no, twice this year I did, and I crashed both times because it's been quite a while. I need to get back in the sim and practice up, get my thumbs nimble again to control these models. and then get back out there in the real free world and see what I can do. Okay, so we're done. We're going to stop trying to fly a circle. This thing I haven't figured out how to land. As long as I've had this flight simulator, I have not figured out how to land this thing. I don't know if you have to bring it in nice and slow and then keep pulling up as it's drifting in and then land it nose down every time it breaks my prop. If you break the prop, you're done for. Just in case anybody's going to ask, yes, you can get into helicopters and gliders. Let's go to a performance helicopter. I'm going to embarrass myself here. Helicopters, I have no clue when it comes to helicopters how to fly them. So we'll get the Align T-Rex 600, and this is running on nitro instead of battery power. These things are pretty nuts. They will fly upside down. I don't know which that's nothing. That's the gear, landing gear. Yeah, this transmission is set up the whole way. Is it the 9 key? That's the brake. 3 key is the stunt key. So basically what this does, the stunt key, if I can manage it, and I probably won't, I can't fly helicopters. Okay, come back, come back. Basically the stunt key. Come back, little helicopter. Oh shit, I love it. Okay, basically the stunt key, I'm going to try and do this quick. The stunt key is when you're flying, you can flip the thing over and it'll fly upside down, and when you pull the throttle down, it lets it climb. Throttle up brings it closer to the ground. And this is for 3D flying, what they call 3D flying, doing crazy, crazy stunts with these helicopters. Basically, you take 2 ninja swords, attach them at the handles, and put them on a high-speed rotating motor, and that's what these helicopters are like. So don't go out and buy one of these in real life and chop you or your friends up, or somebody you do or don't know. You don't want to do that. Practice in a sim, get good with these, and then go get a little helicopter. Not something big like this, but it's okay to have fun with it in the sim because you're not hurting anybody. Yeah, I never learned to fly helicopters. They are a different beast than quadcopters and just tricopters, quadcopters in general. They are a whole different beast, and I've never learned how to fly them. So, yeah, we're going to call it quits there. As you can see, let's turn off our stunt key. Find my mouse. There is, we're going to change the model once again. There is a whole selection. You have others, scale. What is that? Oh, an auto gyro. What is this? I don't have the control set up right to transition from a helicopter type thing. These motors basically turn down. Those motors are on that and they're facing up, as you can see, and what happens is those motors actually take and rotate down on that model I was showing you. They rotate forward and it takes the shape of a plane and flies. I don't have the control set up right to fly that one. I've never figured it out. This one, crazy. And then you have your multi-rotor section, which is electric. You have some fairly old multi-rotors. There's an old DJI Phantom, Gallery 330X. I haven't done any updates to this, so there may be some newer models after all. On top of that, what else do we have? We have gliders, which is a perfect time. We're not doing it. It won't fly. I don't have any way to fly it. So we have unpowered gliders, which basically you're just hand launching them and flying around. And you can set up wind. You can set up wind and rain, all kind of stuff in this thing. Here is the plane where I got the Spectrum transmitter that we're using to fly this sim with, and I took the radio out of it to make the module for the Tyrannus. I have this actual plane in real life. This is the Park Zone Radian. Amazing, amazing plane. You can still get them. You can get the Radian XLs. and a redone Radian. They've changed quite a few things on it. But yes, an amazing plane. It has this, I don't know if it's dihedral or polyhedral in the wings, and the wingtips curve up, and what that does is self-levels the plane. Now, it's not real quick acting. It's gradually over time as it glides. So don't think if you hear somebody talking that you have polyhedral or dihedral, I forget which one it is, in the wings, and it helps self-level, that it's going to self-level quick and save it from wrecking. They have other systems for that called AC3X, or AS3X, I think. Yeah, AS3X. Alright, so I really should have did this for the train wreck. Last Friday, after hours train wreck. I thought about it. We did it today. There is your crash course on charging RC batteries. If you thought about getting into the hobby and going beyond the toy level, that's your crash course there. And we did a little bit of flying in the flight sim. Anybody that's never tried flying that wants to, like I said, contact me if we can work it out. I am busy with work and busy creating this content, family life, kids, the what. But if I can find time, heck, we'll get you on the flight sim. So, as always, thank you, people. Every single one of you that does watch this or will watch this, I appreciate you clicking on the link and going to the YouTube channel, seeing it on Facebook, the podcast on Sundays. I don't know if some of the same people watch. I hope so. I hope you like it. Another thing, let me exit out of this. Yes. And I know, repetitive. Yes, correct. He is repetitive. There is a new section, second time repeating this to the best of my knowledge, over on the website, antisocialexperience.com. On the About section, I said this on the podcast Sunday, we have when we are live every Sunday at 2 p.m. Sometimes it is a few minutes after. We do run into technical difficulties. The social media links are there. I got the live streams up of past live streams. So, a little playlist action. You can go through the past ones since we started the live stream. Other than that, you do need to go over to the podcast to get the earlier episodes that are not there with the live stream. If you click here, it takes you to where you can find every single episode of the Antisocial Experience podcast. Aside from that, we're going to load up real quick the dtcomputers website. Always a work in progress. I know this isn't the podcast, the Antisocial Experience podcast. I always throw the websites out there, do a little bit of shilling. We have, I think, is it on What We Does? No. Maybe I didn't save it. Maybe it's on About. Is it on About? There's a gallery. There's a gallery. Oh, you know what? I don't think I saved it. I tried putting... Tell me up. No, it's not on that. It's not there. It's not under services. That's an even worse idea. What We Does. Okay, so I was working on putting up the open hours and the after hours. I guess I didn't save my changes, so I got to do it again. Okay, never mind what I said. When you don't click save, changes are not applied. My lesson for the day, even though I know it. Thanks again for watching. This has been After Hours 20. We'll see you again, hopefully, tomorrow for some open hours. Thank you for watching, people. Have a good evening. I'm going to watch my new favorite show, Non Sequitur Show, on YouTube.